Well, hello again, my lovely friends, and this is the second part of our cuff bracelet that we've been making. If you haven't caught the first part, then please nip along to the video before this one, and that should be the one you need to see first. It's a beautiful Easter morning. It's Easter Sunday. Look at me. I'm so keen. And I really wanted to get this out for you so that you could continue with your bracelet whenever you would like to. But yeah, if you pop along to the first one, you'll get the first part of it, the gist of what we're doing. And then this is the second part where we're going into these extra stitches and things now. I have gone into mine a little more, so I thought I'll go through what I have done so far. So we all went across together. We started to go round some of the edges together, and I have continued with that, and I've gone around all of my pieces that I have on here with a little stitch just to keep them in place. Some of these it's got a stitch that you might not see because it's gone into the green underneath it. This one I filled in with a running stitch, so filled in with a back stitch and not a running stitch, just to give that kind of like a curvedy rainbow effect, and that was with a variegated thread that I used. That was the Marrakesh. That seems to have disappeared. There it is. So I used that one for that. And this one, I brought in that lovely dark olivey colour to do some little seed stitches on there. So it's kind of like a running stitch, but you go in any direction you like, which is kind of fun. So there's no rules on that. I used the olive to put some stars on there as well. I will be doing some more stars, so I'll show you literally how I do those. It's like a cross stitch, and then 90 degrees and do another cross stitch, basically. That's basically it. I added in some extra running stitches going diagonally with some of the pink thread, and I've done some pink French knots. And you can add in whatever you would like to, any stitches that you have that you want to try. Running stitches always are good to go, as is back stitch. French knots are kind of nice to add in a little bit as well, just to add some texture. But I've then gone further ahead, but I'm going to show you what I've done. I left one side free, and if you can see, I also left that side free of this piece, this little scrap, because I know that that's going to be included within my blanket stitch. And that's what I've done around the edges. If you can see, around here and around there, I kind of blanket stitched it. It kind of just gives it a finished look, and it finishes off, though the edges are kind of folded over, but it gives it a finished look, if you see what I mean. You don't have to do that. It's absolutely optional. But I'm going to show you how I do it anyway. I think I've shown you previously on a different video, but I'm going to go with this variegated green thread. It's got lots of different greens in it. I did toy with this idea, but then I thought this one actually went better. So variegated threads are lovely because you then get a selection of different greens or different colours within your piece. Now these come in 6 strands, and I'm separating them in half, so it's going to be a 3-strand job if you are using the stranded embroidery cottons. You can get variegated pearl threads. I haven't actually got any of those, so that's something on my list. So I'm just going to thread this up now. Hopefully, no, I missed one of the threads. This is the way it goes. This is the way. The Mandalorian. Okay. So I'm not going to put a knot in the end, because where I've finished off there, I want to kind of come up through the top of that. And this is a good one if you've been doing blanket stitch and you want to know how to continue when you finish it off. Well, this is my method. So I'm going to go in and find the last stitch there and just go, you can see I'm just going up behind it there. I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to kind of hold that down with my finger for a minute. so that I can then continue with the blanket stitch. It's kind of, you put it through, you make sure that that's to the back, and pull, not too tightly, otherwise it'll distort your fabric. And about 1/2 centimetre, that's kind of measurement I'm going with. Bring it closer, thread to the back, and then making sure it's through, and pull to get your blanket stitch. I'm going slowly so that you can see how it goes. And this is going to be the way that I complete. This is the way. Mandalorian again. I am loving The Mandalorian, have to say that. Big Star Wars fan. And I think out of all the different side elements that Star Wars has thrown out at us, ooh, gone a bit weird with that one. Let me go back again. All the different elements that they've done as side, what do they call it? Brain's gone dead. Offshoot. Yeah, that's the one. The Mandalorian has to be one of my favourites. I love it so much. In fact, it could be my favourite. Still got to finish off a few of them that are on the Disney Plus site at the minute. And I've got a few episodes of The Mandalorian left to see because I've been away, so I've missed some. That's my excuse. But yeah, this is the way. Right. So I think you've got the gist of what I'm doing with that. If you're still struggling with blanket stitch, have a look at some tutorials or a little embroidery stitch book. It'll point you in the right direction. But it should look the same back and front. And that's the way we're going to go round all the top edge of this so that I can complete this side of the bracelet. I'm going to leave you to continue with that. I will continue with me and Mr. Stephen King to get to the end of that, and then I'll be back in again to show you the next step. Okay, so that's all finished stitching around the edges, and I have just taken a moment to try and position the pieces that I want to add in onto the bracelet, the buttons and the sequins. I've got 3 sequins going down there, a little one there. I've got 2 small green buttons I've placed there. I have my star button, which I want to go somewhere there, and that one is a big fastening button that the elastic is going to hook onto when it goes around the wrist. So I'm going to just sew these on now. I think I'll start with that. I'll start with the star button, I think. Get that on, take the other bits off. I'm going to go with a contrasting thread. I would quite like this orange, just to bring more orange back in. So thread, throw that up. There we go. Knot on the end. Try again. That's fine. So I kind of want it to go there because I still want to be able to see that rainbow. And I think I'm going to do a cross diagonally on that one. Probably about 3 or 4 times through each of the buttonholes. Just trying to locate it. There it is. So that's 1, 2. I think 3 times should be fine because this thread is quite thick, and It feels fairly secure with that on it. Take it to the back. Wrap it around a couple of times, knot it off, chop it off. So that's the first embellishment button on there. I'm going to do the same with these and the sequins, and then I'll be back and we'll try and position our button. But first of all, I'll get those sewn on so you can add in yours now, and we'll be back in a moment to do some more. Okay, I'm back and I have attached my sequins, as you can see. Sequins, buttons, button, a little extra sequin in there. And I think I'm quite happy with how that looks. You can keep adding until you're happy. You can do it. You can actually stitch until you can barely see the fabrics underneath, if that's something that you wanted to do. But I quite like the way that it's looking at the minute. I've positioned my button on as well and done it with a contrasting thread, and it's literally just in from the edge. You can move it wherever you want it to be. I don't like my cuffs to overlap too much. And so I've got my hairband, if you can see that there. I've positioned it where I want it to be with two of the quilting clips. And what I want to do before I do anything else is to kind of secure this in place, because it needs to be fairly secure because it's going to have some stretch to it. This one's quite a good one because it's got some fabric around it, so I can actually stitch into it. And I'm not going all the way through to the front when I'm stitching. I'm kind of just taking a little bit of the background in. Some of that background felt, but not going through to the material on the front. And you don't need to stitch all the way around this. This is just a case of making sure that you have got a decent amount of stitching in to keep this in place. So it would be sad if it came off, wouldn't it, mid usage. So, and because it's still got a fair amount of stretch in it, so I'm not too worried. Depends which kind of a hairband, hair tie that you're using. Just some strong stitches. Making sure you're not pulling too tightly so you're distorting the front of your embroidered piece. Take it to the other side. And just get this down as well. If these stitches do make their way through to the front, all well and good. It won't detract away because you've got a lot of stitches on there already. So not to worry too much if you do actually go through to the front of your piece. But I'm trying not to, just because well, it's kind of like a little random element, isn't it? I suppose if you like a bit of random. I do like a bit of random occasionally. But for this, I'm kind of just trying to keep the stitches not visible on the front. As I say, if they did, then they would match in because I've used like a contrasting thread. So that's down as well as can be. You can snip this off if you want to. I'm not going to, because it will probably make this, and whatever the elastic band is underneath is covered with fabric. So I'm just going to leave it in there. It's not going to cause me any problem. And so now the next part is to get your second piece of felt. Now what I have done with this, because the second piece of felt was the same size as the first piece, you should have a little bit of extra that goes over from the material, so you've got a little bit of leeway there. I have trimmed about a couple of millimeters off just to make it fit. Also had to take a little bit off the end. Now the reason for that is that as you stitch on here, it kind of pulls the fabric in a little bit. It doesn't move a lot, but you do get a kind of bit of that ripple effect, causes a little loss in length. So bear that in mind when you're measuring your wrist as well and getting your first amount of fabric cut out, because there will be a small amount of shrinkage due to the stitching. Okay, so what I want to do is, because my thread is up there, I'm going to actually leave that on because I'm going to use this to attach the background felt. So these handy clips are so helpful at just holding the felt in place so it doesn't shift around when you're trying to stitch it. So just to hold it in place. So a few along each side as well. I think these were clover ones, but you can get some cheaper ones. I did notice on Amazon that they have got some different coloured ones, which I kind of fancied. And your felt will have an amount of stretch to it. Just to say, whichever wool felt, 100% wool felt, not so much of a stretch. But if you're using a wool felt blend or an acrylic felt, you will have a certain amount of stretch. So don't worry if it doesn't quite meet the end. It will give a little bit. Just don't have so much give that it starts to rip apart. Try and position that there. Okay. And so where to start? I'm going to start there, and I'm just going to push my needle up so that it's going through that front felt there, and I'm just going to over sew this felt on again, trying to avoid the front, but because I'm using a contrasting colour, if it does manage to make its way through, it's not going to be a huge deal. Also trying to take it through that elastic one more time again, just because. An extra bit of strength given to that bit is always handy. Now, I put this backing felt on. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. I do it because I think it, number one, it covers up the stitches, the not so nice looking back stitched part where all your fastenings off are. And so that's one thing. The other thing is it's probably more comfortable to wear against your skin rather than all the scratchy fabrics, especially if you use a metallic thread. If you know what metallic thread feels like, it's quite a scratchy business, and you don't really want to be irritating your skin with that. So you can see it's just an over sewing. I'm just over sewing this through the fabric, trying not to go through to the front part, but again, doesn't matter if you do. And I am going to do this all the way around. And so you can go and do this all the way around, and I'll catch you at the end. And here is the finished cuff. So it's all completed now. This is how it fastens over, so that elastic just hooks over the button. Make sure you've got it tight enough so it doesn't flop off, and not too tight so that it's pulling too much. This one seems to be perfectly attached. And so there it is. That's the finished cuff. Let's have a look at it with some of the other ones. Well, the other one, should I say. Let's turn it round that way and there. I suppose either way would do. You can have them either way. Whichever way you like to fasten, that's all your choice. But yeah, there they all are. I will be putting some kits together with the base fabric, the felt obviously, and some little snips and pieces of fabric, so that you can have a go at making your own. They're not ready yet. They will be soon. It will probably be sometime this week, and I will let you know as soon as they are in my shop, and I will leave links in the description as to where you can get hold of them. They'll have little buttons and beads and everything else in there, but you know, you can add in anything that you have of your own stash if you have other things that you want to add in. They're not going to be expensive. They're going to be, you know, as cheaply as I can get them out to you, so that you can have a little kit that you can either gift to somebody if you know somebody who wants to make one, or you can make one yourself, and then you'll have an idea of how they go together, what kind of pieces of fabric you can use, and you can use things from your own stash. Alternatively, just go ahead with your own stash. If you're anything like me and you've already got loads and loads of fabric, then please do, just follow the instructions on the PDF that's linked in this video and also the previous one. I'm going to put a link to it in both of them. It's got all the base measurements on it and just things that you need. So it's not got any descriptions as such of steps to do, but it is kind of like your basic pattern. And the video here and the one previously, the ones that you probably need to just see the steps to make it. Hope you're going to enjoy this. I'm sure you will. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm thinking of different things and different colorways that I want to do this in. I want to do a monochrome one. I'm kind of thinking that's going to be quite cool. Other things that you could add on to here include little charms. So you could actually add charms into this as well if you wanted to. Bells. I know this last one, the OG bracelet, has bells on. So that is something you could add in. And then, yeah, just lots of little bits of applique, but you can go to town. It's one of those things, the more you think about it, the more things you think you can add on. But definitely something that you can do, and it doesn't take too long to make. It's not one of those long makes. It's kind of a beginner level make, but you can make it as complicated as you want it to be. So if you wanted to add in extra threads, if you wanted to make some other designs, you can take this as far as you want it. So yeah, I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, in the comments, if you would tell me, even if you were going to buy one, if you want, which colours you would be interested in. Obviously, this one's more of a purpley one. This one's obviously greens. This one's more of a mixed colours, but with like a spring-like feel to it. So if you've got ideas, I'm happy to listen to anybody's ideas, because I want to put together kits that people actually would like to buy and have a go with. I don't want to be putting together things that no one really wants to stitch up. So to that end, you are going to be my customer survey. So just, even if you're not going to buy one, just let me know, because everybody's input is useful and helpful to me. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday. If you are celebrating the Easter holidays, have a wonderful weekend, because everybody's got one of those. Maybe you're working this weekend. Apologies. But yeah, have a wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.